Welcome back to our channel History Coins HD. As you that old as gold, but these rare Lincoln wheat penny coin that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Coin number 1. Today we're diving deep into a humble American coin that, at first glance, might seem ordinary, but once you understand its history, its quirks, and what serious collectors look for, you might never think of a penny the same way again. We're talking about the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, a small copper cent with a surprisingly rich story, and sometimes, a quietly powerful value. Stick around, because by the end you'll see why this coin deserves a second look. Imagine this, it's 1942. The world is at war. In the United States, life goes on. Mothers shop for groceries, workers clock in at factories, children ride bikes. And in someone's pocket, maybe a soldier's, maybe a banker's, there's a 1-cent coin. It's copper, small, common. But decades later, that little coin could become a piece of history. That coin could be the 1942 wheat penny. Minted at the Denver Mint, with D stamped on it to mark its origin, it's part of the final wave of full copper pennies struck before the war drove metal shortages and forced changes to coin production. The 1942 cent, in all its mint varieties, represents the last regular issue of copper cents before the wartime steel pennies of 1943. That fact alone gives it a special place in the hearts of collectors and history buffs alike. Let's talk numbers. The Denver Mint produced some 206,698,000 coins bearing the D Mint mark in 1942. That's a huge number. By sheer volume, these are not rare in the sense of scarcity, which is why many 1942 D pennies floating around in circulation are worth only a few cents. But here's where value for collectors diverges from volume. It depends heavily on condition, color, strike quality, and sometimes rare mint or die errors. Because of the large mintage, common circulated 1942 D pennies are often plentiful. But when you find one that's been preserved, uncirculated, and still has original mint color, especially red, bright copper, things start to get interesting. In other words, if you treat a 1942 D just as old pocket change, you're missing the magic that coin collecting is all about. What else can make a 1942 D special? Well, sometimes subtle minting irregularities, strong strikes, or sharp detail make all the difference. Over decades, many pennies were handled, carried, dropped, rubbed, cleaned, and each of these degrades the surfaces, dulls the luster, or wears down the detail. But a few survived nearly untouched. Some show crisp lines on Lincoln's bust, bold letters on the 1-cent reverse, and the wheat stalks on the back remain deeply defined. Those pennies become the ones that catch a collector's eye, and just imagine, a coin that once bought a loaf of bread might now sit in a holder, under a microscope, or in a coin album, waiting for the day someone recognizes what it really is, a piece of mid-20th century American life, preserved. For many collectors, that's the romance. It's not just the copper and the date, it's the story. Over the years, some exceptional 1942 D pennies, those that escaped wear, toning, corrosion, or careless handling, have surfaced. In high grades, especially mint state, uncirculated grades, they become desirable for sets or for serious collectors aiming for top quality. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, okay, so assuming the coin is in great shape, what kind of money are we talking about? What could you realistically expect if you found one, or discovered you've had one in your drawer for decades? If the 1942 D is ordinary and circulated, maybe tucked in change, carried around, its value tends to stay modest. Many circulated examples in average condition still trade for roughly 38 cents. But for a well-preserved example, uncirculated and with good color, the story changes. For example, there have been documented auction sales of 1942 D pennies graded mint state, high quality and full red copper, fetching much higher amounts. One such 1942 D in MS-67 grade sold for more than $200 at auction. Yet, that's not the top of what's possible. According to specialized value guides, certain pristine or exceptionally preserved 1942 D pennies, especially those with rare strike quality and original red tone, can be valued significantly above typical circulated examples. So for you, the takeaway is this: don't dismiss a 1942D penny just because it's a penny. If it has good details, great color, and minimal wear, you might have a coin worth far more than its face value. If you're a collector or thinking of becoming one, this coin represents a wonderful entry point, not an ultra-rare error coin that only a few know about, but a common date penny that becomes special through condition and care. It's like discovering that an old family photograph is actually a valuable historic snapshot. Also, 1942D coins remind us that coins are more than currency, they are pieces of history, metal witnesses to everyday life through decades. Holding one isn't just about value, it's about connection to an era. If you enjoy this kind of deep coin exploration, old coins, their backstories, what makes them valuable, you'll love digging further into other dates, mints, and maybe even minting errors, because coins like this 1942D Lincoln wheat penny prove that sometimes treasure is hiding in plain sight, in your pocket, in a drawer, in a dusty box. And now, as promised, a note on real market price and auction value for 1942D wheat pennies in good condition. If the coin is a normal, circulated example, typical market value is around 38 cents. For well-preserved, uncirculated specimens in mint condition with strong strike and rich red copper color, auction sales have seen values of over $200. If this video helped you see pennies in a new light, whether you collect, inspect, or just dream, like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to peek into that old jar of coins. You never know what stories a penny might hold. Thanks for watching, and happy coin hunting. Coin number 2. I want to take you on a journey through time all the way back to 1941, when America was on the brink of dramatic change, and yet everyday life carried on as coins clinked in pockets, cash drawers, and coin jars. We're shining a spotlight on a coin many people glance over, the humble penny, but not just any penny. I'm talking about the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. It's simple, it's unassuming, yet under the right conditions, it hides stories, history, and sometimes real value. So if you love coins, old relics, or just the thrill of could it be worth something, you're in the right place. Stick around, pay attention to the details, and you might learn why even a common penny can feel like a treasure. Let's rewind. It's 1941. The world is changing fast. The US economy is alive, life goes on, children ride their bikes, shopkeepers open their doors, families gather, and most likely someone drops a penny in a register, a tip jar, or a coin jar at home. That penny might have been rolled, spent on candy, saved in a piggy bank, or simply forgotten. That penny might be a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny was minted in 3 places: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, with a D, and San Francisco, with an S. In total, across all mints, over 1.1 billion pennies were struck in 1941 alone. The breakdown: Philadelphia minted 887,018,000, Denver 128,700,000, and San Francisco 92,360,000. That's a lot of pennies. So yes, in sheer numbers, this is a common date coin. But as every serious collector knows, it's not just quantity that matters, condition, mint mark, errors, and history are everything. Here's what to look for if you find a 1941 penny and wonder, could this be something special? First, check the front, just under the date. If there's no letter, that's a Philadelphia coin. A D equals Denver. And S equals San Francisco. All coins should show the classic portrait of Lincoln on the front, and on the back, 2 wheat stalks framing the coin's reverse. That's why it's called a wheat penny. Next, condition. Most 1941 pennies saw decades of handling. They were used as pocket change, lost, spent, carried through time. That often means worn lettering, faded details, scrapes, discoloration, and that drastically reduces value. In that common, circulated state, many 1941 pennies are worth just a few cents above face value. For example, a circulated 1941 penny, any mint, in average condition might fetch just 5 to 10 cents. But here's the magic: if a 1941 penny has avoided heavy circulation, if it retains original mint luster, strong detail, crisp wheat stalks on the reverse, sharp lettering, and minimal wear, suddenly you're looking at something interesting for collectors. Uncirculated coins, graded properly, can see their value increase significantly. What about rare varieties and errors? Yes, those exist and they make things exciting. Some 1941 pennies show minting errors, double die obverse, where lettering or date is doubled, misstrikes, or other irregularities. These error coins, when authenticated and in good condition, are prized by serious collectors. Now, let's set the scene. Imagine you dig through an old coin jar or inherited collection. Among dozens, or hundreds, of common pennies, you spot one 1941 penny, but wait, it gleams faintly, the copper still has a warm tone, the wheat stalks are crisp, the letters sharp. Your heart skips. This could be more than pocket change. If you were to send such a coin to a grading company, professional graders assess condition, luster, wear, color, strike quality, and it gets graded as a high-grade uncirculated example, or has an error/variety. The difference in value compared to a worn penny could be dramatic. That is the thrill for collectors. Why does that happen? Because most 1941 pennies, statistically speaking, are average, circulated, worn. Only a tiny percentage survive decades with minimal wear and with pleasing appearance. That scarcity of well-preserved 1941 pennies is what gives them premium value in the collector market. Okay, now that you know what to look for, what does the market say a 1941 penny is worth today? Depending on condition, in common circulation, a worn 1941 penny, almost any mint mark, might be worth just a few cents above face value. But if you luck out and your coin is uncirculated with good eye appeal, you're looking at significantly higher numbers. Some 1941 pennies graded MS60 to MS65, uncirculated range, might sell for a few dollars. Better preserved ones, strong strike, red copper tone, can reach higher, perhaps into the tens of dollars. Then there are the error coins or high-grade rare varieties. These can attract serious interest. And occasionally, in rare cases, coins with strong pedigrees or exceptional condition can fetch far more. So what's the bottom line? If you have a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, don't toss it, don't treat it as pocket change, inspect it carefully. A coin that looks nice might deserve further attention. Use a magnifier, check detail and color, maybe compare with reference photos or guides. If it stands out, consider getting it graded. What seems like an ordinary penny today could be one of those rare survivors that collectors price tomorrow. For those of you watching who enjoy history, this simple penny is a tangible piece of American life from 1941. It's a little time capsule of everyday commerce, wartime-era society, and everyday people. Holding one connects you to that past, the clink of change in a 1941 diner, the cashier handing out coins after a sale, a parent giving a child a penny as allowance. Those stories and emotions matter and give real meaning beyond value. If you love coin collecting or just love the idea of hidden value in the mundane, this 1941 wheat penny is a great reminder. Sometimes treasures are hiding in plain sight, in jars, drawers, old envelopes, even old wallets. All you need is a careful eye. And now, before we wrap, here's a summary of approximate real-world market value. As of now, a common, circulated 1941 Lincoln wheat penny typically is worth only a few cents above face value. But a well-preserved, uncirculated example, especially with good strike, original color, and nice detail, can fetch several dollars or more. Rare error variety 1941 pennies, with doubling, mint errors, or exceptional condition, have been known to reach substantially higher values among collectors. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a penny that's more than just 1 cent, give this video a like, share with fellow coin lovers, and subscribe for more coin stories, hidden gem hunts, and collectors' insights. And next time you find an old penny and change, maybe you'll think twice before tossing it. Coin number 3. We dust off a small, often overlooked relic from the mid-20th century, the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny. You might think just another penny, but if you listen closely and pay attention, you might discover that this little copper disc could be hiding history, rarity, and even collector's value. So sit back, get comfortable, and let's travel through time together. Picture America in 1953. Post-World War II, a nation rebuilding and booming. Streets bustle, families grow, change jingles in pockets and cash registers. In that everyday hum of life, someone, somewhere, drops a penny into a jar, tucks it into a drawer, keeps it in a pocket. That penny might be a regular 1953 wheat cent. But decades later, that exact penny might tell a story. The 1953 wheat penny was minted across several mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. In 1953, the mintages were large, hundreds of millions of coins were struck. Because of that high production, for many decades 1953 pennies were common enough that most ended up in pocket change, circulated, spent, lost or forgotten. So if they are so common, why bother? Because what many people don't realize is that even common date pennies can become special, depending on condition, mint mark, and especially minting quirks and errors. On a typical worn 1953 penny, dull surfaces, worn lettering, faded details, you'll have a small piece of metal worth maybe a few cents more than face value. But sometimes pennies survive decades with minimal handling, still carrying a warm copper glow, sharp details, crisp lettering, and wheat stalks on the reverse, strong strike, original surfaces retained. Those are the pennies that get numismatists excited. What makes a 1953 penny a collector's gem? A few things. A mint mark pennies from San Francisco, S, or Denver, D, sometimes draw more interest, especially if they're in better condition. Condition and grade uncirculated coins, or coins in mint state, with minimal wear and original color, are the prized ones. Error coins or unusual varieties. Some 1953 pennies show minting anomalies, doubling on the obverse, date, Liberty, In God We Trust, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, or other die irregularities. These quirks can elevate a coin from old penny to collector's piece. Now imagine this: you dig through an old coin jar, maybe one passed down or forgotten in a drawer. You pull out a 1953 penny. Ordinary? Maybe. But you notice something: the copper still glows faintly in the light, the letters are crisp, the wheat stalks on the back still defined. Could this be one of those rare survivors? Could it be worth more than pocket change? Let's be honest, most 1953 pennies are nothing extraordinary. They were made by the hundreds of millions for circulation, wallets, cashiers, pocket change, and over time, most got worn, scratched, corroded, or discarded. For many of those coins, value stays near face value, or just a few cents more. But when you find one that stands out, especially a well-preserved coin, or better yet one with a recognized error or unusual variety, that's when the fun begins. Collectors chase those rare survivors. Some have survived decades without much wear, retaining beautiful original luster or details. Others show subtle minting quirks that make them individually interesting. For 1953 wheat pennies, depending on mint mark and condition, here's a rough range of what you might expect if you found one and considered selling or having it graded. A common 1953 wheat penny faded by decades of pocket change might only be worth a few cents more than face value. A 1953 penny in uncirculated condition, with good eye appeal and original surfaces, maybe slightly higher grade, could fetch a few dollars. For high-grade coins, mint state, strong strike, red copper tone, or coins with rare error varieties or proof surfaces, value can rise significantly depending on demand and rarity. That's the beauty and allure of coin collecting. Ordinary coins become extraordinary with history, time, and chance. A coin that once bought a loaf of bread in 1953 could now sit, decades later, in a collector's album, a small tangible link to the past. If you love small historical artifacts, if you appreciate quiet beauty, minute detail, and the thrill of hidden value, then the 1953 wheat penny is a wonderful example. It's not the rarest, but it's accessible, and sometimes that's part of its charm. As of now, in today's collector and resale market, a typical 1953 wheat penny in average condition fetches only a few cents above face value. But if you're lucky and your coin is nicely preserved, or even better, shows a recognized minting error or proof, quality, values rise. You might see small to moderate sums for mid-grade, uncirculated coins, and significantly more for coins that stand out to serious collectors. If you like coin stories, discovering hidden value, or just enjoying a little history in your hands, maybe give a second look at that old coin jar. You never know when a penny might surprise you. Coin number 4. Today's video takes you deep into a world where a small copper coin holds decades of history, secrets of minting, and mysteries that only true collectors can appreciate. Welcome, coin lovers, to a journey into the story of the United States of America Lincoln 1950 D-Wheat penny, a coin that looks simple, feels ordinary, yet carries a charm that draws the attention of both beginners and experienced numismatists who understand that rarity isn't always about numbers, sometimes it's about survival, condition, and hidden errors that slip through the mint unnoticed. Close your eyes for a moment and picture America in the year 1950. The country is transforming. Families are growing, new industries are expanding, and the post-war boom is reshaping everyday life. Cash registers ring non-stop, children buy candy for a penny, and workers carry handfuls of change in their pockets. Somewhere in that sea of copper, a fresh, newly minted 1950 D-Wheat penny drops off the Denver mint presses, gleaming with reddish luster, crisp details, and sharp wheat stalks. That tiny coin might one day become a treasure hidden in a jar, forgotten in a drawer, or passed from generation to generation until finally, someone like you discovers it. The 1950 D-Wheat penny comes from a year with heavy production, but its real fascination doesn't lie in the quantity struck, it lies in how many were preserved the right way. Most were used, worn down, scratched, faded by decades of circulation. But a small fraction survived in sharp condition, protected from the damage of time, and those are the coins that collectors chase. The D-Mint mark below the date tells you it came from the Denver Mint, a place known for strong, bold strikes, and that's why some of the most attractive wheat pennies from this era are Denver issues with rich copper tone and full detail on Lincoln's cheek, beard, and hair. Collectors today adore the 1950 D-Wheat penny not because it is impossible to find, but because finding one in top-tier quality is a challenge that feels like solving a mystery. Imagine going through thousands of pennies and finally spotting one that stands out: bright, clean, detailed, untouched by rough pockets and dirty hands. The thrill of that discovery is what coin collecting is all about, but the story gets even more exciting when we step into the world of mint errors. Yes, the 1950 D-Wheat penny has several varieties and mistakes that the mint never intended, and these are the coins that can turn a simple penny into a valuable collectible. Some coins show repunched mint marks, where the D was stamped more than once, leaving a doubled or shadow-like effect that collectors absolutely love to hunt for. Others show slight doubling on letters, tiny misalignments, or subtle imperfections along the rim. These errors might be small, often invisible to the untrained eye, but for a collector, they are the difference between a normal coin and a rare one worth setting aside forever. You may even find subtle luster differences, coins that shine with full red color, coins that aged into brown, and those in between known as red-brown. That color alone can heavily influence desirability, because original mint color tells a story of how carefully the coin was preserved. A bright red 1950 D-Wheat penny, untouched and glowing, is far more desirable than a brown one worn through decades of circulation. Collectors appreciate the 1950 D not just as a piece of copper, but as a surviving artifact of American history, a coin that lived through an era of growth, change, and daily life. Holding one in your hand, you can imagine where it has been: grocery counters in the 50s, gas stations in the 60s, denim pockets in the 70s, a dusty drawer in the 80s, and finally, today, in the hands of someone who recognizes its value. So if you ever come across a 1950 D-Wheat penny, don't rush. Take your time. Look closely. Study the mint mark. Inspect the details. Turn it under the light and watch the luster dance. Examine the wheat stalks to see if they remain sharp and full. A simple penny could be hiding an extraordinary secret. Now let's talk about real-world value. Based on today's general collector market, a typical circulated 1950 D-Wheat penny is usually worth only a small amount above face value. A well-preserved uncirculated example with strong luster can be worth several dollars. High-grade red mint state examples and rare error varieties have sold in auctions for significantly larger sums, reaching into the tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on grade, rarity, and collector demand. Thank you for watching, and may your next coin hunt bring you a treasure hiding in plain sight. Coin number 5 is going to take you deep into the world of a coin that hides more mystery, more thrill, and more collector excitement than most people realize. The United States of America Lincoln 1954 D-Wheat penny. At first glance it looks like a simple 1-cent copper coin, something millions of Americans once carried in their pockets without thinking twice. But today, the same 1-cent coin has become a treasure hunt item, a collector's magnet, and a coin that has surprised even experienced numismatists who underestimated its value. So get comfortable, coin lovers, because today's journey is not just educational, it is a ride full of rarity, errors, history, and hidden value that might be sitting right inside a jar of old pennies in your home. Listen carefully, because every second of this video can help you understand why this coin is rising in value and why collectors call it one of the most intriguing wheat pennies of the 1950s. Or why the year 1954 was a busy year for the Denver Mint. Millions of coins were produced every single day, and the 1954 D penny was part of that massive production run. But here's the twist: when any mint rushes production at high speed, small mistakes slip through. Those mistakes become errors. And in coin collecting, errors become gold. The wheat penny series, minted from 1909 to 1958, represents some of the richest history America has ever placed on a coin. But the 1954 D issue? That is where things get interesting. Despite being a common date, something unexpected happened. Large amounts of these pennies were poorly struck, some were struck with worn dies, some came out with alignment problems, and others ended up with dramatic yet beautiful mint errors that today bring huge money. Why now, you may wonder, if millions were made, why is the 1954 D penny considered rare? The answer is simple but powerful. High-grade quality coins from this year are extremely hard to find. Many 1954 D pennies circulated heavily, got scratched, worn down, or damaged. A penny surviving 70 years in near-perfect condition becomes instantly desirable. And when a rare error is added into the mix, the coin transforms into a true collectible masterpiece. Collectors want this coin. Collectors love coins that tell a story. The Lincoln 1954 D penny is full of stories. Every strike error, every die crack, every doubled feature is like a fingerprint, no two are the same. People who collect wheat pennies know that this coin is not just about copper and date. It is about character. It is about the thrill of finding something different, something the mint didn't intend, something nature and time preserved. That is why collectors are willing to pay big money when the right coin appears in auction. Rare and expensive ERRS. Now let's talk about the real excitement, the errors that make the 1954 D wheat penny valuable. A doubled die obverse. This error shows doubling on the letters Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and sometimes on the date. Very dramatic examples are extremely rare and extremely valuable. Repunched mint mark. The famous D over D is one of the strongest and most desirable errors of this coin. You may see the D punched twice or even 3 times. These coins can skyrocket in price depending on clarity. Die cracks and cuds. Some 1954 D pennies show heavy cracks running through Lincoln's portrait, wheat stalks, or lettering. Larger die breaks create cuds, which collectors love because they are bold, unique, and visually stunning. Off-center strikes. If the coin is off-center by 10% or more, the value jumps instantly. The further off-center, the higher the price. Weak strike or filled die. These make parts of the design look faded or missing. They are not common for this year and are highly collectible. Why this coin is loved? People love the 1954 D penny because it feels like a surprise waiting to be discovered. Every coin looks slightly different. Every collector keeps looking for an even better example. And every auction reveals a new record. This coin has charm, personality, and history, all in one copper circle. Real market price and auction value. A normal circulated 1954 D penny today sells for a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on condition. A high-grade certified example in mint state condition has sold for several $100s. Rare errors like strong doubled dies, dramatic cuds, and bold repunched mint marks have reached thousands of dollars in major auctions.